On this week's episode, just where are we at with Apple Plus? Has Nintendo been fully behind Pokemon Snap? And did Josh get his answer on grilling steak tacos and more as we get some hot confessions off the grill as we delve into the pop culture cosmos? And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at Pop Culture Cosmos, popculturecosmos.com, and Humanican Media, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. It's the real Josh Shady of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at Pop Culture Cosmos, which will soon be setting into the sunset, and also the Super BS Gamescast, plus his award-winning book, because I give it the award, because I think it's really cool. Congratulations, You Suck, which you got to get today at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What is up? So I went out and I picked up Resident Evil Village over the on Friday. I've been sitting there playing it, and I gotta tell you, man, like it's pretty intense. You know, that's the only word I can think to describe it. Like, I'm reading the reviews saying like it's a great mixture of action and horror, and they're right. It's been a pretty great experience so far, but also very terrifying.
Yes, I heard the rumors and the reviews, and I've seen a lot of the footage already, and it looks really good. I am amazed as far as the overall look of it, the animations, the movements of the characters and NPCs, the facial animations. For me, facial animations during speech is one of the biggest things I've had to deal with and overcome, as far as, not being too picky over the course of the past 25 years in playing video games. And I think that this is one of the best examples of dialogue being translated so well into a digital form as far as a video game is concerned.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, yeah, do you remember those Resident Evil like CG movies that they used to do? That's what it looks like. All the cutscenes look like that. Everything is very fluid.
Yes.
You don't get any of that, like, I don't know, like Mass Effect has always been really bad at that. It's like making the mouths open too wide or not open at all during dialogue.
Get ready for more of that coming up on Friday.
This feels very natural, looks very natural. Like, if you're running it on a 4K television with your HDR settings on, it looks, I don't know, it looks almost real is the only way I can think to describe it. And because of that, it makes the game even more terrifying. And for those of you who are on the fence about it, like Resident Evil 7 didn't do a great job of showing you like what exactly you need to do, but this game, it kind of like holds your hand a little more, and I for one appreciate that.
Exactly. And it's something that I know is getting a lot of good press. I know that fans that are diehard, that really want that scare factor, may be a little bit put off by it because they went a little bit more commercial this time around. And this is not the first time that they've gone commercial, that they've strayed away from their tried and true formula to make it more of a general action game in many sense. And I think that for me, I like it more when they go to this. For me, it's more approachable than just, okay, where's the next jump scare? Where's the next jump scare? This to me is more like, I want action. I got a little bit of scares. I got a little bit of a story that tells everything that's going on. Yeah. To me, it looks like something I want to get into as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great game. And, you like you were saying with the action stuff, like Resident Evil 4 and 5 were very action oriented. Like, they set you on a linear path. This one, you don't worry about. It's not a linear path. There's plenty to explore. It's a game that revolves more around I don't know, like old myths, you know, like werewolves, vampires, things like that. So far I'm digging it. I'll probably have a more like in-depth review once I get into. I think I'm about 3 hours into the 6 hour gameplay, so I'm about halfway through. So I'll hopefully I'll be done with it soon.
Oh, that's awesome. And we'll talk about getting into games here in a conversation that we're going to have here in a little bit. But today we're going to be talking about the couple things actually, because it's just going to be me and Josh for only a few minutes on this episode, because we're going to be talking about Pokemon Snap on the back end of the show real quick. And did Nintendo really push it or give it that that they should have? We'll talk about that coming up here in a bit. And also as well, we will be giving a little bit of a chatter on Apple Plus. But I did want to go ahead and say, Josh, our guest today on the program, has answered the call. You asked, I delivered. I brought you the awesome Ben Arnault from Smoking Hot Confessions. He is on today's show, not only to talk pop culture with DC and Marvel and a lot of great talk there, but he's here to answer your questions. In fact, your specific question on grilling and cooking. And of course, he's got some great ideas from the Smoking Hot Confessions community as well. So he is going to answer that question on today's show.
Awesome. Yes, this is a mystery I've been wanting solved for a long time. I wish I could have been there present for this conversation, but I really appreciate him taking the time to answer my question. And I'm excited to get back on the grill after I hear this mystery solved.
Absolutely. And that's coming up later in the program. Josh's steak taco mystery will be solved on this week's program. Plus also as well, Marvel, all the stuff that Ben loves to talk about, and grilling, of course, as well. But first, my friend, before we hit the break and the first part of my conversation with Ben Arnault, Apple Plus. It's been out for a little while now, and I wanted to ask you, as someone who probably has better access to it than I do, where do we stand with Apple Plus? Because to me, it trickles out some content here and there. It has some obviously well-known actors. Tom Hanks. It's had at least more, it's had some great projects from him. It's had some great stars coming up there. Chris Evans has had contributed some things as well. I wanted to ask you, where do we stand when it comes to Apple Plus? Because I don't feel that it's at the point where it needs to be. I mean, to me, it's like we're flashback to 2016. And I said this on last week's show with Marcus on the PCC Multiverse, and that Amazon Prime Video, I was ripping them a new one each and every week. And you were the brunt of it when I was going ahead and saying that, by the way, about how they had all this cash and they have this little Amazon Prime Video thing on the side, and they were doing nothing with it. I feel that they're doing the same thing now. Apple Plus was announced, and I thought they were going to put a lot of real weight, content, money, and a whole lot of things behind it. And I just don't feel that they've done enough yet to support it.
Yeah, so to me, it seems like they're, I don't know, like the people who don't go to them specifically come to them with ideas that were rejected elsewhere. You know, like the only people that you look at some of these shows that are exclusive to Apple Plus. It's a lot of big name talent, right? Jason Momoa, you have
Tom Hanks, like I said, you have Chris Evans. They've all had projects on them.
Evans.
And by the way, Megan Price, thank you so much for sharing the video. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, so this is like it's, you know, I don't want to say that it's like doesn't have potential, because it does, but they just need that. They're putting more effort into specific things as opposed to a lot of things. And this is where like Netflix hits and misses with this, right? Like they're putting new stuff out there every month, and some of it's good, some of it's
every
bad.
week.
Some of it goes completely under the radar. Apple Plus is like they're more I don't know, like oriented towards numbers, and because of that, I think they're going to be slightly behind in the race, no matter how good their shows are. You know, like we saw, every streaming service that has come out has had good shows of some kind, but they could have been like Stars. Like Stars had a lot of good originals for a long time, and now people don't really even talk about Stars anymore. So
No.
I don't know. It's just, I guess, the way that they market things. To me, with Apple Plus, I guess it's the fact that like they don't bundle everything together, so it's still an extra cost on top of what you're already paying. Like right
Because they
now,
can instantly overnight, just like they put out YouTube
Mhm.
on your phone. They could instantly give you Apple Plus and everyone Apple Plus, and they could lead the entire world overnight.
Right. So with this, so like I just got into Apple Arcade and I got some kind of package deal, but it doesn't have Apple TV, right? So I got Apple Arcade, I got Apple Music or whatever it is, and I got access to the cloud, but I don't have this other thing. So the issue I take with Apple, especially when it comes to their TV shows, is the fact that I have to pay an extra fee on top of the fees that I'm already playing or paying to deal with their other things.
Whereas Amazon Prime, you get everything bundled, including Prime
Mhm.
Video, which
And
they are
there's
now making a
Audible.
concerted effort to put content out on. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's all one flat fee. And again, like, you know, you get the music, you get the TV, you get their Audible, you get access to what was their like Kindle
yeah,
shop or whatever.
you get a cloud and everything. So it's all bundled into that same subscription fee. But with Apple, I mean, you have this resource and the knowledge of the fact that you have the ability to go ahead and put it on so many different
Hmm.
outlets. I mean, the phone, Apple phones, iPhones are the most popular phone on the planet. Just imagine if you dropped Apple Plus right now. I think they did in November. They made it free for a little bit just to give everybody a taste. But if they made it free or part of the package on everybody's phone right now, just
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's something Netflix can't do. That's something that even Amazon Prime can't do. That's something Disney Plus can't do. But it seems like they're missing something, that they're just feeding you breadcrumbs with content every now and comes out. But the problem is it's not plentiful, and once it just after a week or two it just goes away, and people go ahead and, okay, what's on Disney Plus, what's on Netflix. I mean, Netflix is going to be spending $19 billion over the course of the next fiscal year on content. Disney Plus is going to send what, 20 different shows of Marvel or Star Wars within the next year and a half. I mean, they're talking about that, as many as that. You're seeing that in return on the investment when you're a viewer of these outlets. Amazon Prime is spending $1 billion on the Lord of the Rings series, 500 million to get the rights, and 500 million on season one. Plus, they're acquiring movies. Paramount Plus has even tried to go ahead and up its game in recent weeks about TV shows, and also acquiring movies and talking about the 30 to 45 day window for some of its movies. So I
Yeah.
want to ask you, my get, I mean, because they have such an innate advantage. They have such an advantage over their competition in many ways. What can they do to get back into this ball game and make sure that they have a service that people actually want?
They need to bundle it with their music and their arcade, because like right now, like I said, there's so many different services on Apple and there's no way to get them all together. You have to pay these different fees. And granted, $4.99 a month for Apple TV is not bad compared to some of the other ones, but there's nothing on it. Like once you watch a show, like there's nothing on it that justifies keeping it. And with most things Apple, it's not exactly easy to cancel services from them. So like there's a lot of like, I don't know, calls and clicks you got to make that happen. So I don't know, like to me, if they really wanted to, like they would go more than a 7-day trial, because you know, look at what was it, HBO used to give you what, 14 days or something like
Yeah,
that.
14
Netflix,
days. And Netflix used to give you the old 30-day trial. You know, I know I
Mhm.
love that. But it's just something that I think that Apple is going to have to realize in order to catch up, it needs to go ahead and cut some corners. And I think one of the corners it's going to have to cut is go ahead and bite the ball Apple users who have an Apple device. Point
Yeah,
blank.
right. And you know, another thing, like Amazon Prime, I know they don't specifically work in the television industry, but they have a studio. Like they have things that they have a whole section of Amazon that's specifically devoted to TV shows. Where you look at Apple, like Apple TV's been up for like what, a year and a half, and they just have, you know, they don't operate the same way that everyone else does. So whereas like Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, like they can get away with stuff like this, Apple TV, there's no like motivating factor to get people to even like check out what they're offering.
Well, it is going to be a question on how Apple Plus goes forward and if it really wants to become a major entity in the streaming marketplace. I mean, they're behind the eight ball right now, but they have the unique advantage of catching up at any point in time with just one click of the button. And Josh, with your Apple phone, boom, it could go right on there and you could enjoy Apple Plus, and that could take over your life. And that's what they could do at Apple. But right now, Apple Plus sits far back in the race of the streaming outlets.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts out there on Apple Plus? Do you think it's something that should be more? Do you think it's something that people would be interested in if it became a lot larger? Do you think it can reach the top of the streaming wars? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, it is the man indeed from Australia, Ben Arnault from Smoking Hot Confessions. He's going to be here to talk DC, Marvel, a lot of grilling. And of course, he will answer the burning question that Josh had a couple weeks ago. And we will go ahead and play actually that clip during that interview when that comes up. So we're looking forward to going ahead and having him on coming up here next. That is Ben Arnault from the Smoking Hot Confessions. We truly appreciate him joining us, and that will be next, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Well, my friend, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. In fact, I want to go ahead and talk about to you, my friend. You had a thing where you just finished the, what is it? Was it Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
I did, yes.
Okay. And you were sending me messages during the entire time, especially when it got into the latter stages. In fact, you gave everybody updates. You were in the 90-hour range here, I think, on last week's show. Well, you have completed Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours did it take you?
113 hours. And that was just like the main story. Like well, there's not really a main story in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but in order to get to the end of like the main story, you have to do a whole bunch of unnecessary tasks. I guess you'd call them side quests. Mm-hmm. And none of those takes, you can't do all those in like an hour. Like they're anywhere from like 2 to 5 hours a piece. And then that's not counting like all the leveling up you have to do to be strong enough to complete those missions. So I'm totaling in at about 113 hours, and it felt, yes, it's a good value for $60, but it just felt far too long. And I remember like speaking to the guys on the Super BS Gamescast about this years ago and saying that like I see these companies trying to they make these games so massive. Ubisoft is completely like, they're guilty for this all the way, but they make these games so massive because they don't want you playing anything else for the rest of the year. Like the whole object of a Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed is that you are playing their game only until the next one comes out. And
how is that wrong?
And so that's the thing. Like, I don't think it's wrong, but for somebody like me who has story OCD, like I have to play from start to finish. I can't just jump into another game. Like if I hadn't finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla last week, I wouldn't be playing Resident Evil right now because I don't have that. I don't have the ability to do that. So I don't know, like how long is too long for a game? Because I remember playing games like Gears and Halo, and what I loved about those was I can sit there and I can get through the campaigns in 6 to 10 hours usually. So that's usually a week or 2 weeks, and I can just be done with that game. Whereas something like even a Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 15, I think I played through that one in about a month. Like that didn't take me anywhere near as long. I think that one was total about 47 hours. So that one was like nowhere near as long as these Assassin's Creed games are starting to get. And so now I'm starting to wonder, like, you don't get anything added on to the story until you get to the end. So at what point does it become not worth it anymore to play an Assassin's Creed story, especially with a game that is not going anywhere? First of all, how long do you think is too long for a game?
That's a good question, because ever since you posed that question to me, I've been thinking about that a lot. As someone who played Oblivion and currently has a running time, I think in the 130-hour range, and I'm still enjoying it, and I still want to play it, and I still want to go ahead and experience it. I don't know if I can really answer that question. I mean, it all depends on, I think, the game and the quality of what you do in it. I mean, I know IGN just dropped an article. There was an op-ed in it in regards to Returnal and the fact that you have to, if it's too tough and you have to, it doesn't have checkpoints and you have to go back all the way to the start and you're right where where your spaceship crashes, and you have to go back through it again if you don't get through it the right way. And I think the person who wrote it said they were on their 100th time, coming back down to the area because they're reliving the whole thing as far as that's concerned, because you have to go through so much and without dying. And they're really getting fatigued by it, and that just tells me that okay, it's something that they're not doing enough at Housemarque to keep it going after 30-40 hours to make it challenging or interesting. For me, Oblivion is I'm always seemingly finding something interesting to do even 130 hours in. And I think it's all dependent on the game. Personally, I know that when we were covering the Order 18 about how people were just so angry had to pay $60 for a campaign that was 5.5 hours, 6 hours long. And I know a lot of people were just roasting it. And so it's on the other end of the spectrum. So I don't know if there's any real right answer, but if you're going through it, and you said you could, because you said you have story OCD, and I've known you now for years, you have story OCD. I mean, it just seems like if it's just tiresome and you're just grinding and it's no longer fun and challenging, yeah, that's too long. But if you're still enjoying what you're doing 100 hours in, is that too long? I don't know. I don't think there's really any one right answer. I just think it's where the developers go ahead and make challenges through the game. Okay, this person, for someone who's gone this game 50, 70 hours, do we throw new things out there, or is it more of just the same?
Right. So, okay, I'm looking at a game like Mass Effect, right? Like they have these side quests, and I think a typical Mass Effect playthrough is anywhere from like 40 to 60 hours, right? Depending on how much exploration you do. So that in that game, though, the side quests make sense because it adds to the mythology. This game has so many just like fetch quests. It's not, and for some reason, like Odyssey was okay because a lot of this stuff was intertwined into the main quest, right? Like you didn't in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you have to do, your brother gets kidnapped and you have to go form all these alliances. I think there's like 15 of them, and each has its own separate like story or chapter. And once you complete all those, then you can get like the legitimate ending, but they won't let you get that real ending until you do all these alliances. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it was just a mainline story. You just did that, and then you can do the kill all the people in the order if you want to. So that one made sense, but this one, like England is such a drab place, and there's not in real life, but in the game, there's just like
Thank you for changing that for our UK listeners out there.
No, I know. England's I'm sure it's a beautiful place, but like in the game, it's so like compared to Greece, it's so like dark and dreary, and there's not enough. There's so much in this like small little continent that they put together here, and there's no reason to go there. So they send you on fetch quests. Like you have a side quest that might take you all the way across the map. So it doesn't make sense to do something like that. Like it seems like they were in development. They're like, what do we do now? Like, how do we fill the rest of this game? So like, I can't really sit there and say, yeah, I enjoyed all my time with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like by the time I was done with it, I was like, oh, geez, thank you for being done with this game. Odyssey, I didn't feel that way. I thought Odyssey was a great game because it was very like pointed in what it wanted you to do. Mass Effect, going back to the side quests, they don't send you on a lot of fetch quests. Most of it's intertwined into your story or how the game's going to end or where you want to go. And they have mythology in there, right? Like they tell you a little bit more about the world with everything you do. Final Fantasy VII kind of, the fetch quests help you level up your character so that you are strong enough to face the last boss. But the good thing about those is that you can do each quest in less than 10 minutes. So, looking at a game on this scale, it's just I can't imagine like as someone if I didn't have story OCD, I couldn't justify finishing it. I would probably get into it about 10 hours, and if I didn't see an ending in sight, I would probably put the controller down, but I don't have the ability to do that. So like once I start a game like this, I'm stuck on it, and it drives me insane because I feel like 113 hours, like I wasted so much time I could have spent playing other things.
Well, with Returnal, again, that was remarked on in IGN. That I mean, the price tag on it is $70, and we're going to have to get the realization that these games, for the most part, that are coming out, especially if they're AAA, they're going to be coming out at a $70 price tag for this new generation. People are going to have to get used to that. People are going to want that money. If people are going to want that money invested in, people are going to want something for that money that they spend, and if that's the case, you're going to be seeing, hopefully anyways, a lot of games that are coming out that are 50, 70, 90, 130 hours long, or infinite as far as is concerned, whether it's just a whole bunch of fetch quests or challenges that may be mundane to some people, that may be actually a good experience for others.
Yeah.
It's just how much do you like to grind? I think with a lot of these games, in fact, one of my daughters with a lot of the games she likes to play, is how much are you invested in the grinding of the game? Because I think with a lot of these games, that especially the free to play games and things of that nature that are out there, it's how much do you like to go ahead and sit down and grind? Because that's the way you go ahead and experience the game, especially for a lot of these free to play games. How much are you willing to grind? How much time are you willing to invest? And how much time are you willing to spend on these games?
Right. And you had mentioned Elder Scrolls, like, and I guess it comes down to how much you enjoy the world also.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Elder Scrolls, you could probably beat the main game in less than 20 hours if you wanted to. But there's so much extra to explore in there. Like there's just, the world is so massive, but it's also very beautiful and calming. They got that soundtrack playing, and you see like, oh, hey, look, there's like a dungeon or something up on top of that mountain. I want to go check it out. And so I guess like it all depends on how much you enjoy that world and
joining the guild.
Mhm.
I mean, the arena battles that I've been in Oblivion, I became an arena fighter, and I wanted to get into that and try and improve my game there. And
yeah,
and it leads into a lot of other things or branches out that's not even related to the storyline.
yeah, and there's so many different, I guess you can call them games within that game. And I think that in that case, like the extra time you pour into it is justified. But if you're like trying to get people to do quests, or if you're giving side quests out just for the sake of getting someone to go across the map to see what else you've created in this world, I think that you need, I don't think that's a great strategy for getting people to like, I don't know, what's the term I'm looking for, where you stay in a replayability. I don't think that that's like a good way to go about that. Like make every part of the map mean something. Like that would more justify the time that people are pouring into these games.
Well, I'll tell you what, I cannot agree with you more, because on certain games, because you could tell, just like you said, it's just fetch quests or stuff that's bloated, stuff that's unnecessary, and it takes away from the original great experience that you had. And then there's other games, especially these free-to-play games, where the goal, if you don't want to spend or invest money on it and cut the corners by putting the chunk of change into it, is grind and grind and grind and grind. And for me, a lot of those games are, like you said, hard to swallow after so many hours. And I don't have that OCD. I will leave if I'm not invested. I will leave and not come back. I'm pretty good about that. As far as, if you're not capturing my attention, I'll do something else. And then if that's the case, you've lost a customer right there. But with you, I can understand that it's hard for someone who wants to go ahead from start to finish and get into it, especially if you originally enjoyed it so much, and it leaves a somewhat bittersweet taste in your mouth by the time you finished it 115 hours plus later.
Yeah, exactly. And so even, when I like playing DLC, and so in a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, yeah, I'll probably go back to when some DLC comes out, but I don't want to. It's not going to be something I'm going to jump on right away. Whereas like other games, Mass Effect, Final Fantasy, whatever it might be, those are games that like I love the story so much I wanted to go back the moment I was able to.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, there's so much to talk about in the realm of how long is too long for video games. I mean, because it goes from one end, like we were talking about with the Order 1886, and then it goes on the way on the other, like you were talking about, way on the other with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So I will ask and put this out to you if you're listening to this, and I want to hear your thoughts. How long is too long for a video game? Please share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I want to thank so much Ben Arnault from the Smoking Hot Confessions for stopping by on the program. He has answered your question, and I look forward to him stopping back sometime in June. We're targeting. It looks like that he's going to be stopping by after Black Widow comes out, after Loki comes out, and he's going to be stopping by to share his thoughts on that. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus some summer grilling. We're going to be talking about that as well when he comes back on. But before we head on out, my friend, Nintendo and Pokemon Snap, that came out last week, where I couldn't actually be here to talk about it because we had to record a little bit early. But it did come out, did get released out into the wild for Nintendo Switch. But I want to ask you this. It really didn't come out with a whole lot of advertisement, a whole lot of pub. I know a lot of the hardcore fans like Salvador Villa, who a great guy from Storm Rush Gaming, he got a chance to get it. Lucas Egan he's been on our show here from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I believe he got it as well. So, I mean, to all the hardcores and all the people that are really truly invested into the Pokemon universe, they got a chance to get it, and they knew about it. But I don't see that fervor for it. I don't see that interest in it. Now, mind you, Nintendo actually knows the sales, and it'll probably be good anyways, just because it's the latest thing to come out on Switch. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think that they really capitalize on the release of Pokemon Snap?
So my daughter just started playing this yesterday, and you could tell that it's not, I don't know how to explain this. Like Pokemon Snap on Nintendo 64 was fun because of just the idea of going back and having more Pokemon. Like it happened in the midst of that like Pokemon fervor. Mm-hmm. This is, we have a lot of Pokemon releases coming, right? This is just something that was kind of thrown out there, like the Pokemon Stadium or Pokken, if I remember, is that what it's called? Pokken DX or whatever it is?
Something like that, yeah.
Like their fighting game. Yeah, this kind of like, I don't know, it looks cool and it's fun for about 10 minutes and then it just kind of becomes an afterthought. And
one of my daughters is a big fan of Pokemon and didn't even ask me to buy it, or didn't ask me to get it. So
because it's not an RPG, you're literally just taking photos. Like, those little ball things on Jurassic Park, you get in there and you see the park. That's what it is. It's Pokemon Jurassic Park, but you're taking pictures and you're not getting eaten by Pokemon. That's all it is. And like with this, my daughter was like trying to figure out how to get to the next like zone. And I like sat there. I'm like, I don't know. This is weird to me. I've never like played this before and I don't know anything about this. And then, the game like teaches you how to play as you play it, but you have to keep doing the same things over and over again until you accumulate enough points to go on to the next part. So I can see where diehard Pokemon fans would really enjoy this one, but the more like casual fans of the Pokemon world probably won't latch on to a title like this. But you go to like Target or Best Buy, at least out here, and they're sold out everywhere. So I mean, somebody's buying them and somebody's playing them. It's not a game for me. I think it's more a game aimed at like little kid fans of Pokemon as opposed to like adult fans of Pokemon.
And I think it's going to sell just because it's the latest Pokemon game on the Switch. Yeah. I just think they could have done something so much more to promote it and done something so much more to get it out there as far as the Pokemon is concerned, because Pokemon is such a viable IP right now. Mm-hmm. And anything like we've talked about in relating to the word Pokemon, it sells. And right, there's an audience right now that's just going to eat up anything that Nintendo's dishing out when it concerns Pokemon. But to me, I think there's an extra level of community that would be interested in it if it knew it came out and it knew it was worth getting.
Yeah, and that comes down to the marketing, because Game Freak didn't make this one. I want to say it was oh shoot, who was the developer of Pokemon Snap dev? Bandai made this one. They did Pokken Tournament, so that's the one we were talking about. So they made this, and yes, it looks good, but it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't have that like. You could tell that from the lack of like advertisement that Nintendo doesn't even think of it as highly as the other Pokemon properties.
So they don't think of it. They don't think of it as highly as the other Pokemon games that they've released.
It's like the mainline Pokemon games, or even like the Let's Go games. Like the clear lack of advertisement just goes to show you that it's not. It's a Pokemon game, but it's not something that they like. That holds a place in the upper levels of Pokemon gaming.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm hoping that the next time around for Pokemon that they release something out, they're going to give it a lot higher profile. I mean, this is going to sell, and it's obviously going to be at the top of the MPG charts for maybe the next month, but there's a real possibility it will not have that staying power unless Nintendo puts a little bit more support behind it. I just think after you get past the individuals that are really into the Pokemon world, that it's not going to resonate with them or feel that it's going to be a must buy, because I just don't think Nintendo put its 100% weight behind it this time around.
Right. Yeah, and that's a shame, because there is something to be said about a company that can make, or a franchise that can go out into multiple genres of gaming and do well. And I think that this was not set up to do well.
What are your thoughts out there on Pokemon Snap? Are you enjoying your time with it if you got a chance to play it? Or did you pass it up and are not looking to go ahead and invest your money on it this time around? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you. I cannot thank you enough, as always, for joining me on today's program. Want to give a big shout out again to Megan Price for sharing this video, and also as well all the radio stations that are out there. We're now over 40 strong, so we cannot thank you enough for joining us, and everybody watching us out there on Twitch, watching us out there on Facebook, YouTube, and so much more. Please, if you can, check out our awesome tabletop RPG games on our Pop Culture Cosmos Twitch channel, YouTube channel, and Facebook channels. And I know a lot of the back library will be going away at the end of this month, from what I've been told by Facebook. So if you want to go ahead and check out all our Facebook videos, better do it soon, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. I guess we've got so many that they said, you know what, you guys need to clean up. You guys need to clean up. But my friend, any last thoughts on the way out?
I mean, there's a lot. We got these summer gaming conferences happening, so whether or not Pokemon Snap is a good one, I'm sure there's gonna be plenty more to talk about as release dates are shifted and new games are announced and things like that. So I think that holiday season this year is going to be hopefully a better one than next year in terms of like games and movies and things like that. But we'll have to wait and see. For right now, if you guys are excited about any titles coming up, or you guys have some thoughts on Pokemon Snap, please, we'd love to hear them. I also want to dive into like what we think are the best entries in the Pokemon franchise at some point, in the next few months. So hopefully we'll get a chance to do that.
I know what game I'm excited for, and we're on the verge of it this week.
Mass Effect. Ooh, buddy, speaking of long games,
Mass Effect Legendary Edition is coming out at the end of this week. I know that's something Marcus and I will be touching upon on the PCC Multiverse. Hopefully I will have my copy in and around then. I'm waiting for it. I've already bought it. I've got it on reserve waiting for me, hopefully very soon in the not too distant future. And this could be one of the biggest releases of the year, in a year where we don't have as many video games AAA-wise coming out. This could be the year once again for Mass Effect. For Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great